Paper 1R, June 2016, question 5. So question about a power station. So looking at the picture, you can see that there is water being pumped down through some dry rock and coming back up as steam. So question A1, what type of renewable resource does this power station use? The only answer is geothermal. It is a geothermal power station. Name another renewable resource. Pick your favourite one. I will probably always go for wind. You could have hydroelectric, wave, tidal, solar, biofuels or biomass. Next part. 4 marks for this one. Cold water is pumped down into the hot, dry rock. Describe the energy transfers at each stage of electricity production from this resource. So, as soon as you start thinking about energy, it should hopefully be obvious that it's going to have something to do with heat energy, and it's definitely going to have something to do with electrical energy. But it's 4 marks, so it's not enough just to write those 2 types of energy down. We've got to be more specific. So try to break it down as much as possible. So the first thing that's going to happen is, as cold water is pumped down, it's going to take heat from the rocks around it. So that would be the first thing that you could get a mark for. Now for this question, there are 7 possible marks available, and you've only got to get 4 of them. So if you give enough detail, it's a good question. So for the first mark, as we said, thermal energy or heat is transferred into the cold water. Now you would write this in more detail than me. I'm just going to summarize it, so listen to what I'm saying. Second possible mark you could have is that as the heat goes into the water molecules or the water particles gain kinetic energy. So that's going into a bit of detail about particle theory. So when any kind of particle gains heat energy, it gains it as kinetic energy because they move around more quickly. So third point, you can get something about the steam also gaining kinetic energy. I'd be careful with that one because it's hard to write something different than the second mark. So you can also have that the steam gains kinetic energy, but I don't think that's necessarily a particularly good mark to go for. Now, a fourth one, which some people might not really consider, is obviously heat. There's obviously electrical. Slightly less obviously, there's kinetic energy, but also the steam is traveling upwards through the rock. So anything that's going to go upwards is going to gain gravitational potential energy. So that's another mark that you could have. Again, probably not that obvious, but it's one that you could have if you wanted to. Now, as the steam passes into the turbine, the kinetic energy from the steam starts to turn the turbine, or keeps it turning. So that means that kinetic energy from the steam is transferred into kinetic energy of the turbine. So that's a good point. It doesn't have to be one type of energy turning into another type of energy. It can be going from one object to another. Move out of the room a little bit, scroll down. So the sixth thing that you could get a mark for, and I think these are the more obvious marks that I would really be hoping you would get, is that the generator spins and it turns kinetic energy into electrical. That's obviously what it is designed to do. And then you could have a 7th mark where we're thinking about the pump where the electrical energy from the generator is then getting turned into kinetic energy or gravitational potential energy of the water as it's being pumped around. So you've gone right from the start of the process, right to the end of the process. Like I said, you've got 7 possible marks there. Now the first 2, I think you should definitely be getting. Number 6 you should definitely be getting. And I think number 7's a good one to go for as well.